James had seen enough of the galaxy to know when something was off. The war against the Crithian swarm had taken 15 years of his life, left him with scars that ached in the cold, and given him an instinct for danger that never quite turned off. So when he heard the scraping sounds coming from Hangar Bay 3 at 0300 hours, he didn't hesitate. He grabbed his plasma cutter, not a weapon, but it could be, and made his way across the dark tarmac of his salvage yard on Epsilon Station. The hangar door had been forced open, not broken, but carefully pried apart with something strong. James's jaw tightened. Pirates, maybe, or refugees. The station had seen both since the outer rim collapsed. Inside, the motion sensors should have triggered the lights, but someone had disabled them. Smart. James switched to thermal vision on his ocular implant, a souvenir from his military days, to heat signatures, one large, one smaller, both in the corner behind his half-gutted Javelin-class transport. Station security is 2 minutes out, James called into the darkness, lying smoothly, come out slow, and nobody gets hurt. A long silence followed. Then, a voice, female, old, with an accent that seemed to roll syllables like distant thunder. Please, we mean no harm, human. James froze. That accent, he'd heard it before. In the fire and blood of the Battle of Draken Prime, a figure emerged from the shadows, and James's breath caught. She was Dracaria, Dragon Woman, one of the ancient species that had once ruled 3 systems before humanity had met them in the war. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, even hunched with obvious exhaustion. Her scales, which should have shimmered with iridescent color, were dull and patched with gray. Her wings, folded against her back, were torn in places. She looked ancient, fragile in a way that seemed wrong for her kind. Behind her, partially hidden, was another younger, maybe adolescent, with brighter scales but the same desperate hunger in her eyes. Aliana, the older one, said gently, not taking her eyes off James. Stay behind me. The girl Alana clutched her mother's arm with clawed hands that trembled. James lowered the plasma cutter slowly. His military conditioning screamed warnings, but something else, something human, overrode it. These weren't soldiers. They were refugees. The war's been over for 3 years, James said carefully. There's a peace treaty. Peace, the older Drakari said, and something like bitter laughter escaped her throat. Peace for those who have places to return to. We have nothing. The treaty gave our world to the consortium. There, she paused, swaying slightly. They're killing those of us who remain, slowly, through starvation and relocation. Aliana made a small sound, and James saw the girl was holding her stomach. When did you last eat? He asked. The older Drakari's pride warred with her desperation. For days. The station denied us entry. Said our refugee applications were ... invalid. James knew exactly what that meant. The consortium had money, refugees didn't. Station administrators had short memories and long palms. He should have called security, should have followed protocol. 3 years ago, this woman might have killed him without a second thought. The Drakari had been fierce enemies, their dragon warriors legendary for their ferocity. But James remembered something else too. He remembered a Drakari soldier who had pulled him from a burning transport during a temporary ceasefire, saying nothing, asking for nothing in return. He'd always wondered if that warrior had survived the war's end. Come on, James said, holstering the plasma cutter. I've got food in the office. The older Drakari stared at him with golden eyes that held centuries of wisdom and weeks of suffering. Why would you help us? Because I'm tired of war, James said simply. And because you're hungry. In his office, James heated up to full ration packs, military grade, designed for hematabolism species. He'd kept them from his service days. The Drakari woman and Aliana ate with controlled desperation, trying to maintain dignity while clearly starving. I'm Serith, the older one said between careful bites. This is my daughter, Aliana. James. I ran a salvage company here. Veteran, 4th Fleet. Serith's eyes widened slightly. Draken Prime. Yeah, I lost my mate there. And my son. James nodded slowly. I lost a lot of friends. They sat in silence while Aliana ate, her eyes darting between the adults, not understanding the weight of the moment but sensing its importance. What will you do with us? Serith finally asked. James looked at the hangar outside his office window. It was large, mostly empty. He had 3 ships he was salvaging. Plenty of space, and more work than he could handle alone. I need workers, he said. Salvage is hard. Long hours. Dangerous sometimes, but it pays. And there's a living space in the back of hangar too. Not fancy, but it's warm and secure. Serith's eyes glistened. You would employ us, if you're willing to work. James met her gaze steadily. And if you can promise me that we leave the war in the past, I don't care what uniform you wore. I care if you can weld sword components and show up on time. I can do all of that, Cirith said, her voice thick with emotion. I was an engineer, before everything. Even better. James pulled out a datapad. I'll need to register you as employees. It'll give you legal status on the station. The consortium can't touch you if you're working under a human contractor. Treaty provision. Aliana looked up at her mother, not understanding the words, but seeing the hope blooming in Cirith's expression. That night, James lay in his quarters, staring at the ceiling. He'd done something monumentally stupid, or possibly the best thing in years. He wasn't sure which. But when he came in the next morning and found Cirith already at work, carefully sorting salvage components while Aliana practiced her welding on scrap metal, he thought maybe, just maybe, peace wasn't something governments created with treaties. Maybe it was something people built, one small act of kindness at a time. Morning, boss, Cirith called out, and for the first time in years, James smiled without feeling the weight of the past. Morning, he called back. Let's get to work.